Talking of antiques, though, it's been quintessential staple of British TV for the last 45 years.
But before we meet the stars of Antiques Roadshow, whose expertise and knowledge continues to impress us, let's take a look back.
Welcome to this, the first of the BBC's Antiques Roadshows.
That's quite nice. That's about 1860.
I would have thought at an auction he should realise between £6,000 and £8,000. One has to be looking at perhaps as much as £1,000.
If you had to buy this, I think it would cost you between 30,000 and maybe 35.
Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
Is it more precious when I say it's worth £5,000 to £7,000?
Oh, stop it. Sorry. That's quite some letter.
They'd probably fetch somewhere around up to £15,000. Amazing.
So zingy. Everybody would want it on their wall.
You can't put a price on something like that, but if you have to, £250,000.
Oh. That moment never, ever, ever gets boring, does it, when they finally hear what it might be worth? Hilary Kay, Mark Hill and Ronnie Archer-Morgan all joined us now. Thank you for coming in, guys. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
It's an extraordinary show, Hilary. 45 years, testament to our love of watching you guys look at these antiques and the extraordinary things that the people coming on the show have at home. What's it like for you and how has it changed? Because you only started on the show when you were a wee girl, really.
Oh, yes, short trousers. Yes, I started in 1978, so that was the second series. And it's changed hugely because when we started, back in the ancient days, you know, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no Googling. What I would say is that there were hardly any textbooks either, actually, on my areas of expertise. And so you had this amazing body of experts that became a kind of living encyclopedia. And you knew that somebody on the team would be able to identify this thing, even if you didn't know what it was. So I think that's changed a lot because we don't have that knitted knowledge exchange. And I think the objects have changed too. And you're looking at three people who have done quite a bit to do that. I mean, I was working at Sotheby's in 1977, and I was dealing with all kinds of interesting objects which were not conventional antiques. They did not belong to grand houses or grand people. They were domestic objects or industrial objects. And I thought, why aren't we seeing those on the roadshow? So it made it, I hope, a bit more inclusive. You didn't have to be grand to bring something along to find out that it was actually important, not necessarily valuable, but important and had a part to play in history.
Yeah. Mark, when I watched that clip, and even when you hear the music...
Oh, yes.
Because you were the same as me. I remember it as a little girl, and I remember it being Sunday and hair wash night before you started... Homework, before you started school again on the Monday. How is it now to work on the show?
I was the nerdiest kid, and I used to sit down and love the roadshow, and you know, it's literally a dream come true. I mean, I am the luckiest nerd in the world, I think, but I now get to work with these guys, and it is all about the team, as you said before, and sharing, and having seen these people on telly and now working with them. Yeah, it's magic.
Ronnie, there's a little bit of pressure on you guys as well, because if someone brings you something, you want to be able to tell them what it is, and you don't ever really know what you're going to see. Do you ever feel a little bit nervous that you might not... I mean, you've got a vast amount of experience now, but maybe when you started out, you might not be able to give them the full...
No, I don't feel nervous about it at all, because I've got these guys...
the backup.
as backup, working on a table with them, and I always have an idea of what something is. And if it's not my actual speciality, I'll take it to somebody on the team whose speciality it is, just to back up what I've told the contributor.
Hilary, you started in 1978?
Yes.
What, over the span of time that you've been doing it, I can only imagine some of the things that you found along the way. But there must be something where, or certain things that either you know the story of the person who brought it along or the item itself that you will always stick in your mind.
Look, you're right, there have been a lot of things. And actually, to pick out just a few is tricky, but I suppose some of the really meaningful things have been linked to the war remembrance programmes that we've done. You know, one was a letter that I couldn't read out. It was from somebody who had died and was a letter back to their sweetheart. And the other was in Étape at the Remembrance Day special, where somebody played a violin that had belonged to somebody. He found the violin in an antique shop and he put the pieces together, found the granddaughter of the original owner and played the regimental song on it in the middle of the graveyard. I mean, there was not a dry eye anywhere. I mean, those are the things, I suppose, which, you know, you feel are really memorable, but not necessarily valuable.
No.
Mark, you say you're the luckiest nerd in the world because you get to work with these guys and see these amazing things. We've asked you each to bring something from your own collections that you can talk us through. So what have you got for us?
I've got... It looks a little bit like a sort of cigar case or something, but it's called a penna.
Right.
And it dates from the Georgian period. And basically, you could unscrew it, and it was everything you needed, if you were a Georgian gentleman or gentlewoman, to communicate on the move. So what we're looking at effectively is a Georgian smartphone, basically.
So how does it work?
So you would unscrew this part and you've got sort of inside here, you would have your quill, there's a little cutter for cutting your quill, and then down here. So it's quite ingenious. It's made out of brass. You would have ink.
like
so
a
there you go.
multi-tool.
It is like a multi-tool.
Called a penna.
Called
Wow.
a penna. So that's my favourite thing.
Thank you. Ronnie, what did you bring?
Well, I
love how
brought
they reach
an
into the
Inuit, thimble guard. Inuit are the people that live on the coast of Alaska.
Yeah.
The coast where the Bering Strait meets Alaska.
Yeah.
And I bought a thimble guard, and it's carved in the form... It's very sweet, isn't it?
Very
seal.
It's carved in the form of a spotted seal. And the spirit of the spotted seal protects the thimble, which lives on the thimble guard.
Wow.
And
Where did you find this, Ronnie?
I bought this at one of the London street markets.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And how much did you pay for it?
I paid, I think, £120 at the time.
How much it's worth now?
If
A lot
only there were
more.
some experts you could ask.
To me, it's invaluable. It's priceless.
beautiful.
This was a lifesaver, believe it or not, because sewing the garments that protected themselves from the harshest conditions on the planet was essential. And so that's why they carved a seal to protect the thimble that made their protective clothing. They'd go home every evening after a day out on the, on the ice hunting, and the women would inspect the men's clothing and stitch up any faults in it, because any fault in the clothing, when they went out the next day, and they'd perish.
Yeah.
And we haven't got quite time at the moment, Hilary. We're going to do a quick throw to the loose woman, and we'll see if we can get yours in off the back of that.
great.
Let's see what Hilary.
Yes, come on.
OK, it's my gavel. It's by a very interesting maker called Samson Morden, but it's the gavel I use throughout my career at an auction house to knock down the Elton John sale, the great more sales. I mean, we were trying to add up how much it could actually
delivered.
We reckon it's probably about 10 mil. That this has knocked down, so very precious.
I might need that for a few kneecaps maybe later. And thank you for joining us this
lovely
morning.
to meet you all.
It's been amazing to meet you.
Yeah, and of course,
thank you
Antique
very
Motion will
much
continue
indeed.
on Sunday.
Yes,
Real
of course.
treat to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There's no This Morning tomorrow.
Yeah,
But we'll
see
be
you
back next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.